Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are plunging into one of Earth's last truly unexplored realms. The vast, mysterious, and often, well, chillingly beautiful deep ocean.
Hmm,
It's a place where sunlight just doesn't reach, pressures are immense, and life takes on forms so bizarre, so wondrous, they seem like something straight out of science fiction.
absolutely.
And at the heart of our deep dive today is one such creature, an enigma known as the oarfish.
Ah, the oarfish.
Yeah, and this isn't just any fish. It's a rarely seen behemoth that has inspired ancient myths, sparked, modern internet frenzies, and it continues to challenge our understanding of nature's most subtle and maybe most profound signals.
Indeed. Our mission today is really to, well, try and unravel the multifaceted story of the oarfish.
Hmm.
We'll start by grounding ourselves in its biological realities, what this creature actually is, where it lives, the unique adaptations that allow it to survive in that crushing darkness of the deep sea.
Yeah.
Then we'll wade into the captivating and sometimes frankly terrifying folklore that has surrounded it for centuries, often linking its appearance to, well, impending disaster.
Right, the Doomsday Fish idea.
Exactly. And finally, we'll tackle the ongoing scientific debate. Can animals, particularly these, enigmatic deep sea residents, truly sense or even predict natural disasters like earthquakes or tsunamis? It's a big question.
It really is. And to guide us through this fascinating subject, we've pulled from a truly rich tapestry of sources. It's a real blend, actually, of cutting-edge science and compelling human observation.
Mhm.
We got everything from like viral Reddit discussions and a TikTok video that absolutely exploded across the internet, to rigorous scientific research from the U.S. Geological Survey, the USGS, and a really compelling academic paper on animal sensory perception.
Yeah, it's this wild mix, isn't it? Anecdotal wonder on one side and rigorous scientific inquiry on the other. It gives us such a unique, kind of multifaceted view of this deep sea mystery.
Yeah, I think so too.
And this deep dive, it really taps into a fundamental human curiosity, doesn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, we're all drawn to hidden wonders, to the things we can't easily see or explain.
Totally.
And there's this innate human desire to understand strange phenomena, especially if they might hold a warning or, affect us directly.
Right.
The oarfish, sitting right at that intersection of myth, scientific mystery, and potential warning, it's just the perfect subject for this kind of exploration.
Yeah.
It forces us to ask, what do we think we know?
Mhm.
What do we actually know? And, well, what more is there to discover about our world?
Okay, yeah, let's dive in. Let's unpack this. The oarfish, a glimpse into the deep. Okay, let's start with the star of our show, the oarfish itself. For those of you who haven't had the, I guess, rare pleasure of seeing one either in person, which is almost unheard of, or even just in a photograph, well, prepare to be absolutely captivated.
They are stunning.
Yeah, imagine a creature that looks less like a typical fish and more like something, I don't know, conjured from a fantastical epic or an ancient sea monster legend. It is incredibly long. It possesses this striking ribbon-like body that can stretch to truly astonishing lengths.
Mhm.
We're talking up to 23 feet or about 7 meters. Though even an 8-foot specimen, like one we saw recently in a viral video, still looks absolutely massive when it
Oh,
surfaces.
definitely. Even at 8 feet, it's impressive.
Its skin shimmers with this brilliant, reflective, silvery sheen, almost like polished chrome. And then there's its most distinctive feature, that magnificent flowing dorsal fin. It's a vibrant, almost shocking red, and it runs the entire length of its body from its head all the way to its tail.
That fin is incredible.
It really is. People often describe it as having awesome hair or even like a Jedi's lightsaber cutting through the water. It's a truly magnificent and honestly kind of eerie sight.
And that striking, almost ethereal appearance is precisely what makes it so mysterious. Because, as you said, these are absolutely not your typical surface dwellers. Oarfish are true deep-sea creatures, members of the family Regalesidae.
Right.
They typically reside in the mesopelagic and bathypelagic zones. That means depths of up to 1,000 meters, which is around 3,300 feet, and sometimes even deeper.
Wow, 1,000 meters.
Yeah.
It's hard to even picture.
Exactly. To put that into perspective, at 1,000 meters, you're experiencing pressures that would crush a human instantly. And there's virtually no sunlight. It's a world of perpetual twilight or even complete darkness.
Unbelievable.
So this extreme depth is precisely why sightings are so incredibly rare. When one does surface, it becomes a globally newsworthy event, adding significantly to their mystique and, well, reinforcing their legendary status.
It makes
And their
sense.
biology is just fascinating. Their ribbon-like body isn't just for show. It's perfectly adapted for their unique swimming style. Unlike most fish that use their tails for propulsion, oarfish primarily swim vertically, head up.
Vertically, head up.
Yeah, head up, using that long dorsal fin for propulsion in a sort of serpentine, undulating motion.
Mhm.
This peculiar swimming method, it's known as median fin propulsion, or sometimes rheotaxis,
Hmm.
allows them to hover in the water column. It makes them efficient filter feeders,
So they just hang there.
pretty much. They drift in this upright position, waiting for tiny crustaceans, squid, and small fish to pass by, which they then gulp down. They're pelagic, meaning they live in the open ocean water column, not typically on the seafloor, which, further adds to their elusiveness.
Given just how elusive these creatures are, it's no surprise that for many of us, our first encounter with an oarfish isn't in the vast real-world ocean, but rather through the lens of popular culture.
Mhm.
I know for myself, and I imagine for a lot of you listening, video games and television shows have been our primary window into this world. It's a curious paradox, isn't it? Something so wild and remote becomes, I don't know, accessible through digital proxies.
You are absolutely right. One of the most captivating real-world media mentions involves the extreme angler Jeremy Wade, from the popular River Monsters
Yeah.
series.
Oh, yeah, I remember
They had a
that.
special Sea Monsters episode where he actually managed to dive with oarfish, and the footage is just breathtaking. There's this moment in the video where he's genuinely giddy, like a kid on Christmas morning, reaching out to touch the magnificent creature and exclaiming, "I'm going to touch it. I just touched it."
Huh. You can feel the excitement.
Totally. The sheer excitement in his voice truly conveys the awe and the rarity of that encounter. What's also particularly fascinating, especially for anyone familiar with diving, is observing his technique in that environment. He's in a full face mask, and you can clearly see moments where he's experiencing fatigue, even a mask flood,
Oh, wow.
leading him to take these quick, sort of uncontrolled vertical ascents. Despite these challenging and potentially dangerous conditions, his perceived bravery in undertaking a second dive at nighttime in that very same setting, after initially being quite distressed,
Yeah.
really resonated with viewers.
Yeah, that takes guts.
It undeniably highlights the extraordinary lengths people are willing to go to interact with these incredibly rare and mesmerizing deep-sea creatures.
And for a completely different kind of encounter, maybe even more widespread, you have to think about Animal Crossing, New Horizons.
Ah, yes, Blather's favorite.
Exactly. This incredibly popular video game introduced literally millions of players to the oarfish, often depicting them as one of the largest and most valuable fish you can catch. Players get a hefty 9,000 bells, the in-game currency, for selling one, making it a really coveted catch.
Those bells add up.
And there's that common, wonderfully humorous in-game pun that almost everyone who's played remembers. I caught an oarfish. I hope I catch more fish.
Classic.
The initial ritual for many players is to donate their first oarfish to the game's museum curator, Blathers, who then provides actual factual information about the creature.
Which is pretty cool, actually, sneaking in some science.
It's utterly wild how a charming, family-friendly video game can make a deep-sea rarity, something most people would never ever see, so widely known and even beloved, even if its portrayal is sometimes, exaggerated compared to the actual size and behavior of a smaller oarfish.
Well, as you said, some of them are absolutely massive, so it kind of reinforces that game image in a way.
That's true. It's a powerful testament to how pop culture can spark genuine curiosity about the natural world. 2. The Doomsday Fish legend, folklore and modern sightings. So, okay, we have this incredible, elusive deep-sea creature often brought into our homes through games or viral videos, but that's truly only half the story, isn't it?
Not even close, yeah.
The oarfish has acquired a popular, rather ominous nickname, the Doomsday Fish. And that name isn't just for dramatic effect or, internet clicks. It comes from a widespread, deeply ingrained belief that sightings of oarfish presage major natural disasters.
And this is where the cultural and historical context truly comes alive. It's a narrative woven deeply into the fabric of certain societies. In many East Asian cultures, particularly in Japan, oarfish are known as Ryugu no Tsukai.
Okay, what does that mean?
It translates to messengers from the sea god's palace. Their surfacing has historically been interpreted as a dire warning of impending trouble, like devastating earthquakes or tsunamis. And this isn't a new modern thing born of the internet. These beliefs are ancient, passed down through generations.
Wow, centuries old.
Exactly. There's a really poignant East Asian folktale that perfectly illustrates this deep-rooted fear and the ominous association. It speaks of two brothers fishing on opposite sides of a river.
Okay.
One brother sees a gargantuan dragon, which is explicitly understood to be an oarfish slip out of the depths and approach his oblivious brother on the other bank.
Yeah.
He frantically screams warnings, but his words are lost across the river. So he runs upstream, crosses a bridge, makes his way to the other side, momentarily losing sight of the situation. Upon reaching his brother, he's relieved to find him apparently unharmed. But the other brother is just puzzled, says he heard no call, completely disbelieves what his brother claims he saw.
But
But 2 weeks later, the oblivious brother falls mysteriously ill and dies.
chilling.
Yeah, this tale, passed down through generations, truly embeds the oarfish with this sense of foreboding, a direct, albeit inexplicable, connection to misfortune and unseen forces. It really speaks to a deep human need to find patterns and explanations for unpredictable tragedies.
It's powerful how those stories take hold, especially when you consider something as rare as a deep-sea creature surfacing. It almost feels like a divine message, or, well, some kind of message, doesn't it?
Mm.
Which brings us to the central scientific question. Why do these deep-sea creatures who normally inhabit such immense depths actually come to the surface? What does modern science have to say about these seemingly ominous appearances?
Well, there are several theories and observations, ranging from the mundane to the ecologically concerning. The most common scientific explanations suggest that oarfish surface when they are sick, dying, or severely distressed.
Okay, that makes sense.
Think about it. A creature perfectly adapted to immense pressure, in perpetual darkness, relying on its swim bladder to maintain depth. If that system is compromised by illness, injury, or maybe just old age, they might lose their ability to control their buoyancy and simply float uncontrollably towards the surface.
Ah, so they can't help it.
Possibly. They might also be caught in unusually strong underwater currents or severe storms, which can disorient them and force them upwards beyond their normal comfortable depth. When they reach warmer, shallower waters, their physiology can become even more stressed, leading to them washing ashore.
Okay, so sickness, storms, what else?
Well, it's not always a sign of distress or impending doom. There are observations, though they're rarer, that oarfish also come to the surface for reproductive behavior.
Really? For spawning?
Yet during mating season, they are occasionally seen swimming horizontally, which is a definite departure from their usual vertical orientation. And they are typically only near the surface for a few hours for this purpose. So if you happen to see two oarfish together near the surface, it could very well suggest they are spawning, a sign of life and reproduction rather than a harbinger of death.
That's a completely different interpretation.
Exactly. But then there's a growing and much more chilling concern from ecologists. They speculate that an increased number of deep-sea creature sightings, and we're talking about more than just oarfish, other species are being observed more frequently as well over the last decade or so,
Okay.
might indicate worsening environmental conditions like rising temperatures or declining water quality at deep depths. The deep ocean, long considered this stable environment, it's not immune to climate change impacts like ocean deoxygenation or acidification.
So the deep sea itself might be.
Sick. It's a hypothesis, a serious concern. If the deep ocean is becoming disturbed, it raises a broader and very serious environmental question about the overall health of our planet's largest ecosystem. It connects these rare sightings to a much larger global issue.
That's a truly sobering thought, one that extends far beyond just a single fish. And it leads us directly to recent real-world events that have really fueled this doomsday fish narrative in the modern era. I mean, social media and the cameras on every phone have just amplified these sightings, right? Turning local anecdotes into global phenomena.
Absolutely. One striking example that truly cemented the modern resurgence of this legend is the devastating 2011 Japan tsunami.
Oh, I remember hearing about this connection.
Yeah, reports emerged that a significant number, around 20 giant oarfish, washed ashore in Japan just before that cataclysmic event. This coincidence, whether it truly implies causation or not, made a profound and lasting impact on public perception. It really wove the ancient legend into modern tragedy.
20 is a lot. That's hard to ignore.
It is. And more recently, after a powerful 7.6 magnitude earthquake hit Japan in January 2024, a video that had originally circulated showing divers encountering an oarfish off Taiwan, it resurfaced and went viral again.
Ah, I saw that video.
Yeah, it prompted widespread discussion and renewed fears about its predictive power. And it wasn't just oarfish either. Other deep-sea fish, like the black anglerfish, another incredibly strange creature with its own bioluminescent lure, have also been observed surfacing more frequently, which only adds to the general sense of unease.
So it's a pattern, potentially, with other deep sea life, too.
That's part of the concern. For many people, seeing these creatures out of their natural alien habitat, whether it's in a viral video or tragically washed ashore, it's deeply unsettling, yet visually amazing, and it instinctively makes people wonder, something ain't right here. Is nature trying to tell us something? 3. Can animals predict earthquakes? The scientific inquiry.
Okay, so this idea that animals can predict earthquakes isn't just a modern social media thing. It's a belief that's, well, thousands of years old, woven into the fabric of cultures across the globe.
It goes way back.
We've all heard the historical anecdotes, right? Nervous cats jumping out of windows, dogs barking uncontrollably, birds screaming, rats scurrying out of holes, even bees swarming strangely right before a tremor hits. It's a compelling narrative, deeply rooted in human observation and maybe our desire to find meaning in chaos. But does science actually back any of this up?
Well, this is precisely where rigorous scientific skepticism has to step in. While these anecdotal reports are indeed numerous and have persisted for millennia, they largely lack what scientists call rigorous scientific validation.
Okay, so stories aren't data.
Essentially, yes. A
Well,
key psychological concept at play here is the flashbulb memory effect.
flashbulb memory.
Yeah. It's a phenomenon where unremarkable details, things we wouldn't normally pay attention to, become extraordinarily memorable and significant when they are associated with a powerful, emotionally charged event, like a major earthquake.
Ah, okay, I see.
So, for example, a cat jumping out a window on any given Tuesday might be completely forgotten. But if a devastating earthquake happens shortly after, that specific cat's behavior becomes etched into memory as a sign, leading to a mistaken attribution of unusualness. We start connecting dots that aren't necessarily connected.
Right, because the earthquake makes the memory stick.
Exactly. And what many of these reports also crucially lack are what we call control observations. We only hear about the animal behavior before an earthquake. We don't have comparable data showing what happens when animals don't act unusually when there isn't an earthquake, or how often these unusual behaviors occur without any subsequent seismic event.
Right, you need the baseline.
Precisely. Without that comparative data, it's incredibly difficult to prove a causal link. It's the classic correlation versus causation dilemma. Just because two things happen near each other doesn't mean one caused the other.
Okay, so if anecdotal evidence is so unreliable, what's the official scientific position from a leading body like the U.S. Geological Survey, the USGS? Are they just outright dismissing all these animal anecdotes, or is there maybe a bit more nuance to their stance?
Well, the USGS is very clear and definitive on this, which is important for public safety and, frankly, avoiding unnecessary panic. They state unequivocally that they find no scientific explanation or reliable evidence for claims that people can sense earthquakes or that animals can predict them.
No scientific explanation. Pretty blunt.
It is. Their position is based on decades of rigorous seismological research. They emphasize, for instance, that no fault long enough to generate a magnitude 10 earthquake is known to exist on Earth, which, debunks a common misconception. They also clarify that the ground does not open up during an earthquake, which is a common Hollywood trope, but not a geological reality.
Good to know.
Furthermore, they point out that temporary increases or decreases in seismic activity, what some might interpret as precursors, are just normal fluctuating rates in earthquake activity. They are not reliable indicators of large, imminent quakes.
So background noise, essentially.
In a seismological sense, yes. So while the stories are compelling, the scientific evidence for reliable, consistent animal prediction just isn't there. At least not in the traditional conscious sense we might imagine. The primary goal of the USGS is to provide accurate, evidence-based information to the public, and for now, animal prediction just doesn't fit that bill.
That's a pretty definitive statement, but it does raise a critical question, doesn't it? If the USGS says no prediction, but then we have these, well, seemingly undeniable anecdotal accounts persisting for centuries, is there any scientific path to understanding some of these behaviors, even if it's not a direct prediction in the way we usually think of it?
Right.
Is there any plausible mechanism, however subtle, that animals might be sensing that maybe we just haven't been able to consistently measure yet?
Now that is where things get really interesting. This is where the work of scientists like Joseph L. Kirschvink, a biophysicist at Caltech, becomes incredibly compelling. He offers a fascinating evolutionary mechanism called exaptation as a plausible scenario for some form of detection.
Exaptation. Okay, what's that?
It's a really cool biological concept.
Yeah.
It's where a trait that originally evolved for one purpose gets co-opted or repurposed for a completely different one. Think of bird feathers.
Right.
They probably originally evolved for keeping birds warm,
Right.
but were later exapted for flight. Same structure, different function developed over time.
Okay, I get it. So how does that apply here?
Kirschvink proposes a two-step process for animal seismic detection. The first step he calls the P-wave advantage.
P waves, those are the first waves in an earthquake.
Exactly. Virtually all animals, from the smallest insect to the largest mammal, have instinctive escape responses. Think about how quickly an animal reacts to a sudden loud noise, a shadow passing overhead, or, yes, the ground shaking.
Yeah, fight or flight.
Right. Now, seismic key waves, or primary waves, are the initial lower frequency vibrations that travel through the Earth's crust much faster than the more damaging S waves, or secondary waves. Key waves can travel roughly 2 to 4 kilometers per second faster than S waves.
Okay, so they arrive first.
They arrive first. If animals can detect these initial subtle P-wave vibrations, which are often felt by humans as just a gentle shaking or rumble before the violent jolts, it could provide them with a few crucial seconds of early warning before the more destructive S-waves arrive.
A few seconds, that doesn't sound like much.
It might not sound like much to us, but in evolutionary terms, a few seconds can be the difference between life and death. It could trigger a rapid death-avoiding response. For instance, burrowing animals like California's kangaroo rats, who live near the San Andreas Fault, might instinctively retreat deeper into their burrows to escape collapse.
Ah, okay.
Or birds in trees might take flight. Or fish might dive to deeper waters. Even an anecdotal observation of animals displaying panic just seconds before strong shaking suggests this P-wave-triggered escape response might already exist in their innate behavioral repertoire. It's a survival mechanism, a reflex.
So that's step one, reacting to the very first tremor.
Exactly. Now, for the second, truly fascinating step, Kirschvink suggests that if such a P-wave-triggered escape system is already in place, then through random genetic mutation and natural selection over long periods,
Okay.
this deep-seated response can become linked to other, even more subtle, precursory signals that an animal's finely tuned senses might perceive before the P-waves themselves even arrive.
Before the P waves. Now that sounds like prediction.
Well, it's the critical transition from merely an early warning system reacting to the first physical tremor to what could be considered a true predictive response, even if it's an unconscious, instinctual one. It's not about an animal knowing when or where an earthquake will strike in a cognitive sense, like we think of prediction.
Right.
It's more like their finely tuned senses picking up on extremely subtle environmental changes that happen to precede the quake.
And evolution would favor animals that had that linkage.
Precisely. And this is where it gets truly fascinating from an evolutionary perspective. The genetic stability of such a seismic escape response system, even for incredibly rare events, is profound. Kirschvink's population genetic model demonstrates how a trait like this, even if only rarely selected for, can be maintained and even become dominant in a population over geological timescales.
So even if big earthquakes are rare.
Even then, imagine a breeding population of, say, 10,000 individuals. And every 50 generations, which for many species could be 50 years or even a single lifetime for a long-lived animal, there's a devastating seismic event that causes mortality. The simulation shows that if just 10% of the individuals without the seismic escape response gene are killed randomly in each of these rare events.
Okay, a 10% disadvantage.
Right. That gene that does confer that survival advantage can strongly select for and become fixed, dominant in the population over time. It's like nature conducting a long-term, high-stakes experiment. Even a small episodic selective advantage, like that 10% mortality once every 50 years, can lead to the gene for the seismic escape response becoming virtually universal within a few hundred generations.
Wow. So it becomes hardwired.
It suggests that these behaviors don't necessarily need to be learned within an individual's lifetime. They can be deeply ingrained genetically because of their long-term survival benefit for the species. It's evolution essentially remembering what works best for surviving rare, catastrophic events, building an innate alarm system over millennia.
That really changes the way you think about prediction. It's less about a conscious warning and more about an ancient, hardwired survival mechanism. So, if animals can potentially detect these signals before the P waves even arrive, what kind of physical or chemical changes might serve as these precursory stimuli for them, beyond just direct vibrations? What are Kirschvink's proposed candidates for what animals might be sensing?
Okay, Kirschvink identifies 4 main candidates for animal sensitivity, and these are generally outside the realm of traditional seismology, but they align perfectly with the idea of animal sensory perception.
All right, what are they?
First, there's ground tilting. Even really subtle changes in the angle of the ground, totally imperceptible to us humans, could potentially be detected by some animals with very sensitive balance organ or proprioceptive senses. Imagine an animal living in a burrow or a nest. Even a minuscule shift in the angle of its surroundings might trigger an alarm response.
Okay, subtle tilting. Makes sense.
Second, and this one is quite intriguing, are humidity changes or hygroreception.
Humidity, how does that relate to earthquakes?
Well, before an earthquake, deep underground, a process called pre-seismic dilatancy can occur. This is basically the scientific term for when rocks deep underground start to expand and crack under immense stress just before an earthquake.
Okay, rocks cracking under pressure.
Right. This expansion can squeeze out trapped groundwater, causing groundwater levels to rise. This rising water, in turn, displaces moist air from pore spaces in the soil, in animal burrows, or even in the surface boundary layer of the atmosphere. This results in a subtle increase in humidity.
Ah, so the air gets slightly wetter near the ground.
Exactly. And animals like spiders and insects possess hygrosensitive sensilla, which are specialized hair-like structures that detect humidity and temperature fluctuations with incredible precision. Even vertebrates are thought to detect humidity through their olfactory systems, picking up on the scent of increased moisture. Studies have even shown desert rodents can detect seed caches buried in dry sand based on only slight variations in water content.
Wow. So a subtle, widespread increase in humidity might be a key, yet invisible to us, signal.
It's a strong candidate. Third, electrical currents. There could be subtle changes in telluric currents, which are natural electrical currents flowing in the earth. As rocks undergo immense stress before an earthquake, their electrical properties can change, potentially altering these telluric currents.
And some animals can sense electricity.
Oh, yes. Some animals, like sharks and rays with their specialized ampullae of Lorenzini, are famously sensitive to minute electrical fields. Even platypuses can detect electrical impulses from their prey. It's plausible that some animals, particularly aquatic ones like maybe our deep-sea fish, could be sensitive to these seismic-induced electrical changes.
Okay, tilting, humidity, electricity. What's the fourth?
And fourth, magnetic field variations. Fluctuations in the local magnetic field could occur due to stresses in the Earth's crust. Some rocks are piezoelectric, meaning they generate small electrical currents when stressed, which in turn affect local magnetic fields.
And animals use magnetic fields too, right, for navigation?
Exactly. Certain animals are well known to have magnetoreception. They use the Earth's magnetic field for navigation, like birds migrating across continents or sea turtles finding their way back to nesting beaches. It's not a huge stretch to imagine that fluctuations in this field, however subtle, could be perceived as a disruptive signal, an anomaly.
So tilting, humidity, electrical currents, magnetic fields, those are some fascinating possibilities, but hard to measure, I guess.
That's the scientific challenge, absolutely. Directly measuring these specific pre-seismic phenomena in a consistent and widespread manner is incredibly difficult and expensive. It requires highly sensitive instruments placed in remote fault zones, often for very long periods. And even then, differentiating these minute seismic-related signals from all the background environmental noise is a huge undertaking.
Yeah, finding the signal in the noise.
Exactly. Funding for such long-term multidisciplinary studies is also a significant hurdle, which is why focused work, like that done on the San Andreas Fault at Parkfield, California, illustrates just how elusive these signals can be. Plus, the rarity of large earthquakes means that gathering enough data points for statistical significance is a decades-long endeavor. It's slow, painstaking work. 4. Concluding thoughts. Bridging the gap.
So, okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, we're left with this truly fascinating dual nature of our understanding of the oarfish, aren't we?
Definitely.
On one hand, it's this stunning, elusive, deep-sea creature that absolutely captures our imagination, inspiring wonder and awe. It's really a testament to the incredible diversity of life on Earth.
It really is.
But on the other hand, it's deeply entwined with these ancient fears and modern speculation about natural disasters. It carries this heavy burden as a potential doomsday fish, a messenger from the unknown deep.
Precisely. And the scientific consensus, it remains that direct, reliable animal earthquake prediction, in the sense of a conscious and consistently observable warning that we could actually use for public safety, well, it lacks robust evidence.
Right. No silver bullet yet.
Not yet. However, what we've explored today is that intriguing evolutionary hypothesis of a seismic escape response and the specific subtle sensory channels that could potentially be involved. This is where the scientific community continues its ongoing effort to understand all aspects of earthquakes, from the geophysical changes deep in the earth to the potential for biological detection.
So the research continues.
Absolutely. It's a field ripe for further interdisciplinary research, bridging disciplines that might not traditionally intersect seismology, biology, physics, animal behavior.
Yeah.
Perhaps one day that could lead to breakthroughs in animal-based early warning systems, even if it's just for a few precious seconds.
And it's worth noting again just how much social media and, well, the widespread availability of cameras influences our perception of these rare events. A single video of an oarfish that goes viral can make these sightings seem far more frequent or significant than they might actually be in the grand scheme of things. It can create a real echo chamber of fear and speculation.
That's a crucial point. While the Doomsday Fish narrative captivates us and appeals to our desire for clear warnings in an unpredictable world, it's fundamentally important to rely on confirmed scientific understanding for disaster preparedness and public safety, not anecdotal reports or, misinterpreted
Civic
correlations.
science over superstition, basically.
The stories are powerful and they tap into deep-seated human anxieties, but
Yeah.
robust science needs to be the foundation for action and policy.
Absolutely. And as you, our listener, continue to navigate a world filled with both wonders and uncertainties, maybe we can leave you with this provocative thought. What if the ancient myths, rather than being literal, infallible predictions, were actually early human attempts to make sense of rare, unsettling natural phenomena? And perhaps, what if they hint at subtle environmental cues our own highly evolved, maybe technology-dependent senses have largely lost touch with?
That's a fascinating question.
What more might we learn if we continue to observe the natural world with both scientific rigor and a touch of that ancient wonder, that willingness to be amazed and just ask why?
Keep looking, keep questioning.
Yeah. Keep being curious, keep questioning assumptions, and always seek out multiple perspectives on phenomena, even those, maybe especially those, that seem to defy simple explanation.